what happens is people are always trying to date to find the end result. And because that's their intention, they never find the end result. But when you are dating like as a journey, or when you're in this, this is an ongoing thing, that pulls the timeline closer to you, right? So it really is detaching from when and how it's going to happen. You got to trust your intuition. Like you have to trust your intuition. But I always think if someone's not being sent to me, then I'm not ready. It's like that simple for me. And so then that makes my work really easy, because it's just about me getting ready. Hello, Kaylin.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here.
I love our new studio.
Me too.
Our new in-home studio. It looks really good.
It's amazing. It feels really good.
Well, I think it also helps that I've been doing energy work in here.
Yeah.
So the vibe is higher. So today we're gonna talk about manifesting. Everyone, I brought Kaylin on, so I'm not talking to myself, but we want to do a series where I'm basically doing like how I did this. So I guess I wrote this like a how to do this, but I'm coming from the angle of like what worked for me in particular. And especially with this topic, I feel like some of this might be people might not resonate with all of it and like traditional, I don't know, relationship manifestation rhetoric, but I just want to talk about like what worked for me of all of the different things in my life that I have gone through, that I feel like I've figured out. I haven't figured out everything, but there are certain things I am good at or I've overcome. And so when we were brainstorming this how-to list, didn't you bring this up?
Yeah, I did.
You were like, why do you talk about how you manifest
so fast?
Guys. Yeah. So please note, I didn't put husband. Because I didn't put I don't have a husband yet.
Hasn't done that yet.
Yeah.
But everything else.
So you know what I'll say about this is, for a long period I was not magnetic in this area, and actually I feel like just to be totally honest, like from a very young age I feel like I got a lot of attention all the time, and I think a lot of that was my big personality and my confidence. And then I did not like that attention, and I very much just shut things down. And then for a very long period of time, because of how I changed my energy, like I never got attention from guys. And so there was a period where I definitely felt like I was not magnetic in this area. And then a lot of the things that I started to do just to become confident in myself, simultaneously I noticed that I was getting a lot more attention from men. And so then more in like adulthood, I realized this was very easy for me. Mm-hmm. So I had gone through that kind of whole journey a little bit. And I guess when I explain it that way, there's probably more than this list. But you know where I realized actually how much of attraction is energetic is the time of my life when I felt the most insecure physically was when I got the most attention. And I think a lot of that was because during that time I was doing so much sacral chakra work. That was how I was trying to heal what was going on. And at that time I had amenorrhea, and that's why I was doing a lot of that work and just doing so much work with my sexuality and my sacral. And I started to notice, and during that time I wanted to hide, because I was ashamed. People were asking me out like at least 2 to 3 times a day, because I would go out every single day, and I had never had that in my life. And I started to realize, wow, this is like an energetic thing about, the more in touch I am with my own sexuality and my sacral and my feminine energy. That was a lot of the work. Men were attracted to it. So that was the first time I really started to understand in a more mature way that this is all just energetic. And I'll just bring that up because I think depending on, I'll say, your age or your maturity or life experience, I know that some people still feel like it's I have to be good enough kind of thing. And this conversation I want to have kind of jumps past that, because I don't really see it that way at all. Of like, it's not that you're not good enough. It's just about finding the right vibrational match. And I think understanding that in itself is also what allows you to release attachment and do a lot of this stuff. So yeah, that was a really important lesson for me to learn, because I think earlier on in my life, I felt like I had to be perfect to be lovable. And so I thought manifesting boyfriends and life, partners, whatever, I was going to have to be finished. I was going to have to be complete, which we never really are. But I put so much pressure on myself. And I also would tell myself, I can't date until I figure all of these things out. And of course, there's certain work I think is very important to do before you're actually ready to be in a relationship. But there were things that it would just not going to happen. I'm not going to be a perfect, complete person before I can meet someone. So I don't know if you know what I mean.
Absolutely know what you mean. And I think it's so interesting too, because like I manifested my life partner before I had any idea about the energetics of all of this.
Yeah.
But then I've also been able to, in recent years, see a difference between like the way that men are attracted to me because of all the energy work that I do. Yeah. And it's like, it's a game for me now. Like, I'll be like, okay, like how much, yeah, exactly. The Scorpio is like, all right, like I walk out of the house and it's like, depending on also my mood, but just like what vibration I'm choosing.
Yeah.
I know that people are going to be like literally turning their heads at me, and it's not like a physical thing. It's very much energetic. And then looking back to see like what types of people I was attracting before, like before I met my partner, and then meeting my partner and all of those types of things. And I certainly was not in a place where I felt like I was complete or healed in any way when I met my partner. And in fact, that was something that kind of, I don't want to say it held me back, because it never actually held me back, but that was a question that I was really like making sure to sit with myself when I met my partner, because it was like, am I ready? Like, have I done all the work? Like, is this going to be something that I'm getting into now, but I'm not actually ready for? And it's like, I think that that's just the narrative that we grow up with, is like, yeah, make sure to not like bring your baggage into your relationship. And it's like, we don't actually unpack what that means. And we also, I think we're just kind of on autopilot a lot with relationships. And so, yeah, I totally resonate with everything you're saying.
I feel like it goes both ways, especially now with so much more awareness of there are still a lot of people that are trying to get in relationships way too early.
Yeah.
And they haven't done any work to really know themselves or what they want. And you look at, divorce rates, and a lot of people get married way too early before they know themselves. And sometimes people luck out with the resonance, right? And it works. But there are a lot of people that it's not what goes on, and it's important for us to, get to know ourselves, I think, before we really know what we need. And part of that is dating, and that's a moving target. But on the other side, I think in different areas, like I'll speak to San Diego, there are a lot of people who think I have to be at this place, finish this, complete this, be here before I can be a partner. And then they wake up and they're 45 and they're still single because they were waiting to, and I think a lot of it has to do with career, honestly. I want to be at this place before I can settle down, especially, in areas that are very career driven, like LA and San Diego. It's really common. And that's not it either. I think a lot of that is also just hiding, like not wanting people to see their stuff. And I know for me, I was afraid of intimate relationships for a long time, and I didn't really know why, but I know why now. And it was just because I was so afraid to be seen so vulnerably. I knew that when I was in a relationship with someone, they were going to see I wasn't perfect. And that scared the shit out of me, because everybody else in my life, I could put up this front, and you can decide what people see, and not everybody has to see all of your stuff. But then when you're in an intimate partnership, like, that person is going to see you break down, is going to see when you're not strong, and like going to see the things that you're going through. And I very much grew up believing that I was a burden if anybody was even aware that I was struggling. And so I just really kept that inside, and I thought I was going to be a burden. And this really came with my health issues that I was going through. I felt like I was just going to be a burden to anybody I was with. And I really thought that. I thought because they had, autoimmune diseases, I would never be able to be in a relationship, because who would want to deal with it, and not that it's something anybody else has to deal with. And yeah, it's really sad to me, that I thought that. And so anyway, I guess starting there, because I was like much earlier on in the journey, and some of those realizations are really important. But the place I want to start, and I guess historically what I'll say is, I mean, we're doing this because I manifest boyfriends really fast. um,
Really great ones.
Yeah, really great ones. It's like the second I decide, at times in my life where I've been single as an adult, and I decide, okay, I actually think I want to be in a relationship, it's so fast. And, you know, pros and cons with that. But sometimes faster than I'm ready for. Where that starts is with number one, calibrate your own field. It's about you. Love your life. So I described it that way because there have been times in between relationships where I'm single for a year. But during that time, I'm very much, I don't want to date right now. It's on my radar. It's on my mind. And people say that all the time and they're full of shit.
Yep.
People tell me, yeah, I'm not thinking about dating. I'm just taking time for myself. And I'm like, I can tell it's all you're thinking about. I like genuinely, it's just like, I don't know. And I think part of my ability to do that honestly comes from my avoidant tendencies. Like, I do think being avoidant, like as a tendency, I think I've healed a lot of my avoidance, but that's still the underlying thing, allows me to be more not attached, right? So when I say I really not thinking about it, I really mean it. And during that time, like I'll think about I'm thinking about a certain, you know, relationship transition. And I had gotten out of this relationship and I could just feel, I mean, I was just shattered. I felt broken. And I had no space for anything but even just pulling myself together again. And so all I was focused on really was healing myself. You know, I know that's what everybody says, but really that's all I focused on. And I remember about 8 or 9 months later, I woke up and I thought, I feel good. Like I feel ready. And I said, you know, I feel ready. And I got the ping to go on Hinge. And so I went on Hinge.
The famous ping.
I went on Hinge and I went on a couple dates that, you know, over the next couple of days. But the first person I went on a date with ended up being, you know, my next long-term partner. So, and it's like that's kind of been the cycle. So calibrating my own field, that's the first piece. And that's why I'm able to do it so quickly, or to other people it seems so quick, because I've done all the prep work. I've done all the vibrational work, you know? So then it's really just, okay, we're ready to go. Where are we going?
I think there's such an important piece there too, that I was actually relaying to someone in a reading yesterday, and I was thinking about you because I learned this from you, and it's a very core piece of manifestation, which is, what do you actually want?
Yeah.
And I think that, again, so many people are kind of just moving through and letting the subconscious completely rule. And so it's like, we have this idea of what we want, and it's like you said, it's like they say, oh, I just want to be single. Like, that's what they say, and that's what they tell themselves. And it's like your entire energy body is looking for someone all the time, even if you're not necessarily taking action steps, but probably you are taking like smaller steps towards that. And it's like, because you're so clear on like, this is actually not what I want, then once you are ready, that's also very clear. And so then it's like your entire energy is on board with, okay, now I'm open. And so then it just comes in so effortlessly.
Yeah, 100%. Most people are sending mixed signals. And I think one of the biggest signals, which I'm grateful I don't radiate this, but I will tell you, I mean, I could tell you from my clients who are men and then clients who are women, like the main blocks for people with dating, for women, it's clingy energy. It's clingy energy. And when you say, no, I'm focusing on myself, and you're actually vibrating with, I desperately want to find my husband, you come off as clingy, and people don't even know why. Even if you just seem cool, calm, and collected, your energy speaks that. And so number one is get rid of your clingy fucking energy. Like, figure out why you're in clingy energy. For men, it's more, you know, wanting to hide that they're not perfect and not wanting emotions, but I'm not really going to get into it. Calibrating my own field. Again, I just want to come at this from like what I have done. So during that, it's really just a lot of my own shadow work and self-healing. I'm doing a lot of energy work on myself and seeing any places where my heart isn't open. That's the easiest way I can say it. It's all the places where my heart is shut down and where I'm in fear is like the first place I'm looking. And that usually when I'm coming off of a relationship, the place I'm starting is healing my wounds from whatever came up in that dynamic, and like really taking a lot of time to work with the lessons I learned from that. And there's always more lessons in how you uncouple and my emotions, and just spending a lot of time massaging that out and healing from that, and recognizing the role that I played in anything that didn't work out. And I spend a lot of time diving into that. And that's probably 3 to 4 months of what I'm usually spending time on if there's a big break. And again, it depends on how the relationship completes. But I'm just thinking of certain examples in my head, and like that one, I was like, I just really needed to have that feel complete. And a lot of people just rush through life, and or you know, they'll cry for a week and they feel like they got it all out, and they just are like, they move forward. Mm-hmm. There's so much deep stuff to work with, to grow from, to understand about yourself through the relationship, like through the uncoupling, and it's just going to take you a longer period of time. And that's the important period, because that's where I'm really transforming as a person. My biggest transformations as a person have been immediately after a relationship, because I grow so much, I mature so much. And if I didn't take that time to really work with that stuff, I wouldn't mature. It's really that maturation process that's super important. So that's the first thing that is vital. And that is why I attract different types of people. Because what happens is people just go and date a different version of the same person. So
yeah, you already got your activations. Yeah. You're done with that.
Yeah. And so I don't want that to happen. And so I'll really work with, I mean, we all know I can manifest the opposite, right? Like, and I'm also, part of that is really learning within myself. What have I learned I actually want and need? Because with every person, I'm getting clearer on what I want and need. And I'll have an idea in my head about what I want and need. And then, you know, you get more information, you live life experience, and you update that. And so I'm really getting clear on what's important to me. And there are a lot of things, I mean, with each relationship, there are things that I think are very important to me going into it that I learn aren't, and things that I don't think are important to me that I learn are, every single time. And so I have to really update that within myself, because if I don't energetically update that, I'm going to be attracted to what I'm used to, right? We're attracted to familiarity. And it's when people are drawn to each other, when you're drawn to somebody out at an event or on Hinge, there's a reason why you're drawn to them. And so if you're not doing the energetic and personal work to update what is comfortable for you, you're just going to date a different version of the same thing, you know? So I'm really, really taking time here. For me, I think the big one is opening my heart, because what tends to happen for me personally is I just shut down a lot. Like that is what ends up happening to me through relationships. I start to shut down. I start to get resentful. I'm more err on the side of like, I don't want to deal with people ever again. You know, I just shut down. And so I have to do a lot of work on just opening my heart, you know? And so for me, a lot of energy work, a lot of somatic work. I mean, one of the big things that helped me outside of just my own energy work last time was craniosacral therapy. Acupuncture, massage, a lot of that gets a lot of it out, obviously lymphatic drainage, but craniosacral like really was a great extra modality. And just to receive that, in addition to obviously I was doing energy work pretty much every single day, and just getting to know myself and making sure I was really letting myself change and transform to the version of myself that wanted to attract in that person. And for me, I don't really have to spend that much time on this, thankfully. But earlier on, I mean, this is the foundational piece, is loving your life. A lot of this is what makes somebody attractive in general. And I'm talking about energetically attractive, why people are just drawn to them. Because so, you know, it is energy that people are attracted to. It's people who are confident. It's people who love life, who love their life. And so I'm looking at, is there anything I don't love about my life? And I need to figure that out. And that's what happens is every time I manifest in a new partner, I'm always like, I'm at this place where I feel like I'm on a fucking high. Like my life is so amazing. I'm so happy. That's very attractive for people, friends, romantic partners, because they're aware of, I don't have to fill a need for you. That feels like a heavy job, right? And so it's never a coincidence. And I know that's when I'm like, I can feel myself on this like frequency train. I mean, I think about, like the last one, I was like, with everything in my life, I was on a fucking high. Like I was just on a high in my life. And that draws energies toward you, So I think it's a lot of that, like doing your own personal work, whatever that is for you. But I think most people don't realize what that personal work is for them. And a lot of that is stuff that people don't like looking at. And this comes up a lot with clients where I am the person that will tell you to your face what your problem is. I will tell you to your face, like what your block is. When no one else is going to say it, I will tell it to you. And if you don't like me, it's fine. But at least someone told you. Yeah. Right. And
no, we love it.
I will tell you that a lot of people, I would say most people, when I tell them exactly what the problem is, they're like, I can't meet someone. They will just, no, that's not it. No. It's a thing that you don't want it to be, because they don't want to work on it. They don't want to work on it. Right?
Yeah, it's very true.
And so, I mean, there's a lot of different ones, but there are people like me where it's like, I got a fuck off sign, no new friend sign. That's a big one. And people are like, no, I'm super friendly. I'm like, no, your vibe is not. It's not, a lot of times it can also be about people's friendships, to be honest. Like the friendships are a big reason why people don't attract people in. If your friend circle isn't, sorry, but like, I don't know, high vibe, like that can deter people. I mean, that is, even if you are a gem, your close circle is like with you energetically. And so people will overlook you because they're seeing the energy of the circle. And also about your relationship with your friends too. For some people, they want a partner, but there's simply no space, So I think there's a lot about just being like a self-sufficient adult in your own independence, loving your life, obviously, that are really important. And I'll also bring into this, I'm going down. I'm going out of order. But relationship skills. This is another big one. And I put it at the bottom because this is something that is important to work on in relationships. And it's also important to work on outside of relationships. And so I'll have a lot of people come to me and I will tell them, you need to work on relationship skills out before you get into the relationship. You have to learn how to communicate. You need to learn how we're built differently. Like people's brains work differently. Learning about attachment styles, learning about different types of wounds and how that shows up. I feel like thankfully a lot of the skills I've learned in coaching, education around coaching, has helped me in relationships, but I have also spent a lot of time. I still spend a lot of time. I go out of my way and I learn a lot about relationships. I've studied a lot of different relationship experts and teachings. I've taken courses. I've read a lot of books. I've gone through coaching like around this because I realize it's a skill. And if you haven't had that super well modeled, which most people haven't, we have to go out of our way to learn it. Most people don't know how to communicate. People don't know how to hold space. People don't know how to receive feedback. People don't know how to set up the container of a relationship in a way where you can communicate clearly, having consistent check-ins, deciding how to fight, how to disagree, things like that. And you don't know what you don't know, right? And so for me, I'm spending this time updating my skills, because I'm looking at my life and I'm looking at previous relationships and where I didn't have the skill, where instead of being a clear communicator, I shut down and I ran away, right? Or I dipped my frequency, or where I was adjusting to somebody, where I was making a judgment and expecting him to think like me, right? Where I was assuming he was thinking one way instead of hearing what he was saying, so I'm looking at these things that I do and actually making an effort to try and understand other people. And I have to do that first. And that changes how you date 100,000,000%. That changes how attractive you are to people in general, because it's a different level of energetic maturity and people feel safe with you and they feel seen with you. And it also really filters out anybody that can't meet you at that level. I think that's the biggest thing, because within like 5 seconds, I can tell if somebody can meet me in conversation and their level of self-awareness and how they communicate. So it makes it very easy to filter things out. I'm not wasting time going on extra dates. And I think, and I'll just say, I don't know if this is like a guy thing versus a female thing. I've talked to a lot of guys about this. I know a lot of guys who just go on a million dates. Like that's that's how they do it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a guy thing. And I just don't want to do that. And they always say, I don't want to waste time texting. Like, I'd just rather meet you, catch the vibe. And I totally get that because people can be very different texting or on video than they are in person. So, but I just don't have time to, and I don't have interest in like giving someone my energy and my time, really, unless I need a filter of, do you know how to write? Do you know how to communicate via text? You know, because that is actually important to me. If you like, can't communicate via text, like that's also a problem to me. Things like that, you know. So I am spending a lot this whole like calibrate your own field. That is the biggest piece in seeing your own blind spots and seeing how you can improve as a person and taking that time to learn relationship skills that you can bring into the relationship. And then of course, you know, you learn things together, and I think that's super important. Like obviously in partnership you want to be learning together, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about manifesting a partner. So where a lot of this like comes from is the list, making a list. Because if I were to say just like the only tangible thing I personally do, I take that back. There are two tangible things I personally do, but usually I only need one, which is I make a list. And I know a lot of people like don't like that, but it works for me. It works for me with dating, with manifesting partners every time, like creepily. Like, and I'm very, very, very specific with this list. Like, I'm so specific about this list. And I'm also open to this list getting changed. And I think that's the important thing, right? So it's a living, breathing list. Like, the list is on my phone. Okay. And I am always, you know, updating. You know, you did this is going on. Yeah. You know, so I not really like that. I mean, like, not while I'm in my relationship, I'm not updating it, but I definitely
immediately after.
You know, I mean, like in the relationship, like this most recent relationship, there were things that he had that I didn't even think of that I realized, oh, that should have been on my list.
Totally.
You know? So it's more like that. And also creepily, because there are things that I just thought were such like does that sometimes I don't put them on my list because they're just such a does that then like I'll meet someone and I'm like,
you don't even have the duh.
Yeah, like how do you not have the duh? Like I really need to be very specific. Yeah. And my friends always joke, they're like, did you just code these guys into your reality? Yeah. Like it's so specific. Yeah. So the list really, really works for me. And what's on the list, there's nothing physical on the list. It's values, it's interests. It's interests that are really important to me. Things like, you know, cares about their health and wellness. Things about like has something connected to spirituality in some way, open-minded, non-judgmental, like things like that, right? And so I get, you know, kind-hearted, emotionally aware, does his own personal development work, like things like that. And it's a pretty long list. And I say that because it took me a while to really, it was a lot of during calibrating my own field that I was just like adding to the list and getting more and more specific as I moved through the world. And I saw different traits that I realized I loved within other men in my life, things that, you know, great examples my father has set and you know, how he shows up that I reminded of, things that my friends do. And I'm just kind of collecting all of these different things and realizing what's important to me in that. So the list works for me. It works every time. And there's always a moment where I like I really sit down like once with the list and I give it a once over and I'm like, okay, done. And it's when I'm done that then I'm listening to my intuition. I get the next direct hit, and whatever the next direct hit is how I'm going to meet that person. So going with that though, I know I'm kind of jumping, but a big part of setting my own field that I find, because I can feel this, I felt this before when I'm dating people, I have to complete my old contracts. And sometimes I don't realize all the ways I have to complete it until I start like going on dates or, you know, dating someone new, I guess, where I realize, old things that where I thought it was complete and it wasn't complete. And so there's the physical part of that, of like anything I own connected to that person, I like to get rid of. I think about even like outfits that I associate with dates I went on with them, or like there's just a lot of physical stuff I gotta get rid of. And I think also, I mean, like, there can be ties to things with like living situation, there can be ties to things with work. There are certain things that maybe we started or we connect really strongly with certain partners that I'll realize when I'm connecting with someone at a different frequency than my previous partner, that like those things have to go too. Does that make sense? Like for me, a lot of that is changes my career. That's like a big one. I usually make a lot of big changes in my career because I realize so much of it is like associated, or there's like threads in there, and so I'll make changes like that. So that is a very important piece. But I think there's a lot of cleanup energy. There's a lot of just delete, get rid of old pictures, old items. Like I want to be fully clean and ready to go. The other thing that I will do that's tangible, well, I guess maybe there's two, but one is really like, sometimes I will just have like a prayer, like a ceremony, just like a ceremony of now's the time. It doesn't take that long. But I guess in my head, it's one big thing because I usually do that together with my finalization of my list. It's like one thing, and I'm just being really clear, like, okay, I'm ready, and I mean it, and I embody it, and I'm vibrationally ready, and I'm open. And I'm open to my life changing. And I think that's a really important piece. I have to be open to my life changing a lot. I have to be open to a lot of things. I mean, with this one, being open to a move, being open to somebody changing her mindset about things. And so if I'm not really open to my life changing, I'm not really open to a partner. And a lot of people say they are open to a partner, but they don't want their life to change. They don't want their friendships to change. They don't want their dynamic with their family to change. They don't want their career to change. They don't want their habits to change. Then you're not really open, and you're not really ready for a partner, because a partner, can open your eyes to things, and the reality is you're probably going to be spending less time with certain people in your life, so you have to be okay with things changing. And so I think that's where, for me, when I will really know I mean it, when I'm ready, where I'm like, I am okay with my life flipping upside down tomorrow, and I feel good about it. Like, let's go. But if it's, hey, my life is perfect and I want to just plop you into it, I'm not really ready.
Right.
Because that's just not what happens. And that's not fair to the other person. They have their life too. Right. So I've got to be ready to co-create something new with that person. The other thing that I've done more, and this is kind of an ongoing thing, but it definitely adds to the process, and I think that's why it's been so quick these most recent years. I really started connecting with my spirit babies when I was like 24, I would say. When I started building that relationship with those souls, that really changed how I dated. One, because I think I really kind of realized, because for a long time I didn't think I wanted kids, and in connecting with them, I realized I actually really do. Like, I really do. And so that already just changed what I was looking for in dating, because I mean, I've talked to a lot of friends about this. Like, if I knew for sure I didn't want children, I'd probably pick a different partner than if I knew I did,
Absolutely.
You're looking for different things. So different lifestyles, right? So that was a big thing for me to like get zeroed in on. Like, now I'm looking for, also traits that I see in like what I want for the father of my children, I guess. And it became a little more serious, right? In my head of like, I'm actually dating like really long term, not just, are you my boyfriend, right? So that changed a lot of things. But also, when I brought them and got them involved, they're kind of like, okay, we're going to send you everybody you need to like get ready.
Exactly.
So they will send people to you. And if you have a connection with your spirit babies and you're not already asking them to do some work, like, ask them, because they will bring people to you. And I think that a lot of times, well, I know sometimes there's dissonance between who the babies want to send you and who you want, or who you think you want. So you got to listen to the babies, because they know more than you, right? Because a lot of it is stubbornness, and that comes back to the actually attracting it in, and with the list, right? And being open to new things. But so those are kind of the tangible things. So I'll listen to my intuition, about what that is, and pretty much every time it's get on Hinge now. And there's always a timing piece to that. Like,
Yeah.
there's like a timing piece where, like, my most recent partner, he was like about to get off the app. If I had been late, wouldn't have found him on the app, you know. But I think about, there's only so many ways I'm going to meet someone, because I work at home with myself, and yeah, I mean, I guess there's events and things, but I'm not going out
looking for that.
Yeah, you know. So, and I also always think, you know, the kind of guy that I'm probably gonna be with is probably gonna be on an app, I guess. You know, probably not. Yeah, I guess. So it makes sense, but that's usually what it is. In the past, it's been other things like go to this event, meet this person, blah blah blah, be there at the right place, right time. But I think the other piece of this is, and this goes into making the list, but also in that process of like finding that person, right? So let's say I get the download, go on Hinge now, and let's say I connect with a couple of people, and so I go on a couple of dates. You're still learning things, and you're still discerning, and I'm just still so not attached. Like, I'm not attached at all. I don't care. I'm having fun. And I think that comes back to, that's the get curious. That's curiosity. And for me, I think why it's easy one of the reasons why it's easy for me to manifest partners is because I genuinely enjoy dating. And I know a lot of people hate dating. I know a lot of people are jaded by dating, and a lot of people have been trying for a really long time. And I get it. Like it is exhausting to explain yourself over and over again. But when you learn communication skills and when you learn dating skills, because I used to feel that way too. I used to feel super jaded by dating. But dates are fun. And getting to know people is fun. I mean, for me, it's no different than sitting down and having a podcast, right? I'm just getting to know someone. And I'm always just attending every date with, what do you have for me? Because there's nobody that shows up in my life out of coincidence. And so I'm going to, just by being me, deliver them something. But I'm always thinking, like, what's the nugget you're supposed to deliver me that's getting me closer to my person? I'm never going thinking, are you my person?
Right.
And that's like really, really important. The other piece of that is, I'm not overly specific about my type. And I think that's the problem, is a lot of people are very set in on, like, I mean, you have a type.
But I don't have a problem with them finding me.
Exactly. Right. So, but a lot of people are so set on, like, I want, it could be physical, but it could also be lifestyle.
Totally.
You know, they have a type and they have it in their head. I know my person's going to be like this. And like, you don't. And there are so many people I know who, it's like it's never the one you expect. You know, it's like the person you didn't see coming. And I'm like thinking of a number of like some of the strongest married couples I know, who it was like they're like, this, he was not my type. I wasn't expecting it. I was like, that's not my lifestyle. I wanted someone like this. And we think we know what we want, what we need, but we don't always know. And sometimes exactly what you want and what you really need is getting delivered in a package you weren't expecting, you know? And so, and then, you know, equally as often, sometimes people really do have that intuitive knowing. Like, they're just like, I know he works in finance, you know, whatever it is.
I'm looking for him in finance.
Like this, sometimes you know, right? But I would just say you've got to stay really open. And if you're not open, then you're not doing these things because you're in attachment and you're not curious. Again, it's like, if someone's coming into my field and I'm interested and I'm feeling drawn, like, there's a reason. There's something I need to hear from them. It could be one thing that they say to me, or one thing I realize by talking to them. I'm like, oh, I need someone who does this or doesn't do this, right? I think about, I remember like going on a date with someone a while back who was like everything on my list, right? And just no vibe. And you're like, well, the vibe's more important, right? Yeah. And then like, there's another person I can think of who's also everything that was on my list, and I realized it's kind of annoying me. Like, it was like, I was like, my list isn't right. It's like, just, you know, and so I needed to go on those dates to realize that.
Totally.
And a lot of what I thought I wanted was things very similar to me, and I realized how someone too similar to me is problematic for me. And then also somebody like, you know, too different, we can't resonate. So that's pretty much what I do. And then I just let it unfold, I guess. But I think that if I were to say the important bits, I would say I really just prioritize being obsessed with my life and my own confidence. And like, that's got to be core. And 2, I make my list and I'm open to it, you know, being changed. And I see who and what the universe sends me. And I see it as this journey. What happens is people are always trying to date to find the end result. And because that's their intention, they never find the end result. But when you are dating like as a journey, or when you're in this, this is an ongoing thing, that pulls the timeline closer to you, right? So it really is detaching from when and how it's going to happen. You got to trust your intuition. Like you have to trust your intuition. But I always think, you know, if someone's not being sent to me, whenever I've been single, if someone's not being sent to me, then I'm not ready. It's like that simple for me. And so then that makes my work really easy, because it's just about me getting ready. And looking at something like the list, you know, the most common thing that happens is we make these lists, and you have to look at that list and you have to ask yourself, am I a match for that? And part 1 of that is, am I able to receive that? And part 2 is, do I embody these traits? And a lot of people have lists of traits that they don't have, and they just want that other person to even them out. Like then you're not a vibrational match. 2 is, you're saying you want these traits, but you can't receive it, as in, you know, with women, it's like, you know, I want a man who's really in his masculine. And a lot of these women, like they can't receive a man in his masculine because they don't want to be put in their place. They don't want boundaries. So you've got to look at if you're actually a vibrational match, and it's really just all about that, and like having fun. I feel like that's my thing. It's like being happy with myself, having fun, being the best version of me. And then I say I'm ready when I know I'm ready, and then it comes right in.
I really think it's so simple. Yeah. It's so simple, and people make it so complicated. It is that trust, and then following that intuition, and then fun. Trust, intuition, and fun. And like but it's because, you know, I think that what's so key is that you said, you're like, I know that if someone is sent to me, even if it's for one date, they have something for me and I have something for them. And it's like, you see every human interaction, specifically in this case as a date, as sacred. And I think that it's become so transactional because they're burnt out, because they're focused on the end result. And so then it's just like, are you my person or not? And if you're not, like, I discard you. And that's not treating someone with like, you're a sacred human being who also wants to find their person, you know? And it just invites more presence and joy of like, well, can I be present and have fun in this moment on this date right now? And that's the vibration that you're holding, so of course that's going to bring the person faster, you know? But yeah, I think I've seen it happen, obviously, for you. And it really is like, people make it so much more complicated than it has to be. Like, why? It's like this like, the universe doesn't want me to be with my person. And it's like you said, of course they do.
The universe wants you. You're in your own fucking way.
Like, and so to me, as you know, maybe this is the Scorpio too, but it's like, I know that I'm being protected if something isn't coming in, because it's like, do I really just want to like be in a heartbreak for no reason right now? No thanks. I'm good, you know what I mean? And I've gone through that with friendships as well. Like, it's funny because you're talking about I'm ready, and there was a moment for me like that with like my community, like my friends, like that I intuitively felt like I was in this is when I first moved to San Diego, that I was just in a time to be by myself. I was just a hermit time. And then there was a moment where I was like, okay, I'm ready, and then they came in. And it's like, it can be that simple.
Totally. I think that part of the problem is this whole attitude around, I don't want to waste my time. And I understand where that's coming from. And I also agree with like, keep your standards high. Like, this is a nuanced conversation. Keep your standards high, but also recognize you don't always know what you need. You know, and sometimes what you're asking for is perfection because of your own perfection wounds. And not everybody's perfect. Like, we all have stuff that we're gonna, you know, move through, and you're really looking for the traits you're looking for, again, are not a finished product. You're looking for traits that indicate this person can grow. They're willing to be self-aware. They're willing to communicate. Like, those are the core things. And at that point, you don't need a finished product, because we're never going to be that. But then, you know, hey, we can navigate things together and like grow together. But look, I totally understand. I don't want to waste my fucking time. But that attitude does not go with the journey of becoming who you're meant to become, to be the partner you're here to be. Like, it is a journey. And so that attitude just like literally doesn't go with how this goes. And you've got to fall in love with the journey, and you got to fall in love with dating. And I think if people focused on that, learning to love to date, then a lot of things would change. And just like with anything else, you know, this stuff is hard for people because they're so attached. They want it so badly that they're pushing it away. And in wanting it so badly, they're orienting from the space of, I don't have it. So that's what you're projecting out to the universe, and that's what happens. You don't have it. Instead of, it's here, it's coming, it's on its way, I'm a match for it. And bringing that into your field, it's, I don't have it, I want it, and you're just pushing it away. But also whenever we want something so intensely, we have that desperate clingy energy and that needy energy, and nothing can come in. And that's deflective for people. When you need something that intensely, you have to ask yourself, why? Like, there's nothing like yuckier. You know, I think about friends, where this is like my biggest ick, when people are like, you know, why aren't you there for me? Or like, why didn't you, like, it's like, I'm not your parent. You're a grown-ass adult. And if I don't answer your phone call the first time you call me, and I'm not available within the next hour for you, you have to be okay. And if somebody's like, I need you, it's the ickiest shit for me of all time. It's like so yuck, because it's so dependent. It's so energy vampire-ish. And I'm sure a lot of people listening to this can think of someone, like, when someone needs you like that. I'm not talking about, you know, your child. Okay. I'm talking about grown-ass adults. And you're just like, you don't need me, right? Like, you're okay. It's, think about then, if you're in this, like, I need my husband. Like, it's so yuck. Like, it is. And I'm explaining it that way because I think that's how it gets across best for people, you know? But for me, when I think about areas in my life, there are certainly areas where it's easier for me to manifest, like, fast. Like, I don't think people understand how fast I manifest this shit. Like, it's like within a day. Like, literally within a day. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. None of that matters. Like, it happens. Okay. And I know people who, you know, they bump on a Zoom call, and the person they're going to marry is on the Zoom call. Like, you will get in energetic contact with this person. I mean, I know people who have met each other on a plane. Right. And they find out that they live in the same area. Stuff like that.
My partner was 3,000 miles away.
Yeah, exactly. So but this area is easier for me because I care the least about it. Not that I don't. Obviously, I care about my partner, but like,
you're the least attached.
I'm the least attached because I'm more like money and, you know, health and things like that, like, feel harder. And whatever we feel like is harder, we get more attached to, and we're like trying too hard. And in life, when we can learn to just enjoy and go with the flow and like not give a fuck, and like try less. Anywhere where you're just like not trying at all is where it's going to be easy to manifest. So try less.
It's like, what did you post yesterday? Release the resistance and find your joy, or something like that.
Oh yeah, my guides kept just saying this to me. I don't know why. They just kept saying to me, they said, like, literally the key to life is release all resistance and expect the best.
Oh yeah.
If you do those two things, you release resistance to anything that's coming up. Like, and that's not saying that you like it or that you're okay with it or whatever, but it's just, it happened or it's happening. And so I'm just going to drop my resistance to it. Okay, here we are. And I'm just going to focus on what I want to happen. Great, that happened, but I'm focusing on this. Like, but expecting it to happen. And it's not just visualizing the person you want. And, you know, there's all those other tools I don't really use with this. I really just use the list. There's like visualizing what you want. But at the end of the day, sometimes with visualizations and tools like this, they don't work because we are using them to kind of orient forward of like, I hope that happens. All that matters is that you're expecting it to happen. Like, there's no piece of me that thinks I'm not going to have my perfect husband and great babies. Like there's no piece of me ever my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, well, once I decided I wanted that, like, I'm like, okay. And so who it is, we're going to find out. But people are wondering if they're going to get it.
Yep.
And if you're wondering if you're going to get it, if you're wondering if you're ever going to meet someone, you are not expecting what you want. And so that's literally the reason why you're not attracting it in. So you have to just know it's coming. Just like anything else, you know? I ordered my clothes from Revolve and I haven't seen them yet, but I know that they're getting delivered. And I'm
even if they're delayed, they're coming.
They're coming. I'm not worried about it. I'm not checking my tracking every day. Like, it's fine. I'm gonna
Every
be
5
okay.
minutes.
Yeah, every 5 minutes. Like, do you think that they forgot about it? Like, do you think the universe doesn't want me to have these clothes? Like, no, I ordered it. So, yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. Do you have anything you want to add?
I love all of this. I feel like what I was thinking of as you were talking to is like, this is such a great metaphor for like manifesting anything.
Yeah.
Like truly.
I mean, it is.
Um,
it's all the same, right?
Yeah.
I'm just sharing like, and again, I wrote that title, but I did this from the angle of like, what do I personally do?
Right.
There's a lot of other things I could add in here, like in general, that could help you. But you know, working on your sacral chakra, that's a whole other topic, but that's not really, I guess I already have that sorted. So
yeah, no, I think you summed it up perfectly.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I hope that this helps some people out, and let me know if you manifest a boyfriend anytime soon.
And if you have any other specific questions,
let us know.
To answer.
We could do more board videos.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Kaylin.
Of course.